Cheers, guys. Epics 911, welcome to the Elitist Geek and part 2 of my Elite Dangerous video. Elite Dangerous is based on a 1980s game. The original game came out in 1984 on a computer called the BBC Micro. So anybody who's from the UK is going to probably have fond or bad memories of that machine, depending on what side of the fence you were on. And it was then quickly ported, because it was really popular at the time, to pretty much every personal computer of the day, including where I played it, the Commodore 64. I played it as a teenager. I was just a teen, somewhere in 1985 or 86 is when I first played it. The game back then was even more open-ended than now. It provided you with basically really no direction other than become elite, which was a rank. How you did that was entirely up to you. Whether you did mining, trading, bounty hunting, that was left to you. That first game didn't have planetary landings. It didn't even have textured graphics. It was pretty much line graphics, so like kind of vector based, right? But it was awesome, and it was super popular, and most people kind of my age group and demographic, even if they haven't played it, they've probably heard of Elite. So you can imagine when this game came out, or when it was talked about, it got me pretty excited. And that's kind of what I want to look at with you guys, is show you what this game's about, and whether it's your type of game or not. Hopefully you get a little bit more info about it without getting into too much detail. So, Elite Dangerous. You basically follow a profession. Which profession is entirely up to you. Again, if you want to be a trader, fine. If in real life you like to stick your rod into rivers or lakes, you can do that in this game in the form of mining for hours on end without combat or anything. You might get accosted by pirates, but you can spend the majority of your time doing that. I prefer more kind of jack of all trades, right? And that theme of professions is really what makes this game, because everything is kind of based on that. So you've got the profession in terms of how you want to play the game, like the play style. You've got professions reflected in the types of spaceships that you ultimately are going to own, meaning you've got spaceships that are better suited to exploration, mining, fighting, trading, right? And just like you might want to play your professions a little bit of everything, you even got ships that are basically jack-of-all-trade ships. It's actually the ship that I have that I'll show you guys in a couple minutes. Missions in this game, which are way more plentiful than they were in the original game, also reflect that categorization. Meaning, you've got missions that are mining-based, bounty hunting-based, assassination, and so forth. So let's put on the HMD, and let's take a look at Elite Dangerous in VR. The first thing you're going to notice is what is so impossible to convey to people, and that is just how damn immersive this game is. And this is where Skeptics come in, right? Skeptics against VR, but they have never tried it. This is a perfect game to kind of win those people over, just to show them the potential. Doesn't mean they're going to like the game at the end of it, but it's a pretty damn impressive game, especially on the Vive now with that super sampling, because it looks much more like the Rift version, for showing what VR is capable of. For example, you can show all the screenshots you want. Hell, the video that I'm showing you guys doesn't make that point. You're going to listen to me try to make the point, but you don't get it until you put this on. For example, you guys see a 3D representation on a 2D screen about the inside of my ship when I look around right now. What I see isn't so much what I see, it's what I feel, what I'm experiencing. I am in the ship. I look around, I see an empty co-pilot chair beside me. I look back, I see a door probably leading to my cargo hold and my sleeping quarters. This feels like the inside of a vehicle. Hell, I can stand up. And my instinct is immediately not to stand too straight or I'm going to bonk my head on the top here, right? I can reach out and feel like I could touch this. And that's just part of it. When I look outside the ship and I see this colossal shipyard that I'm in, I feel the weight of the structure above me. Like it feels like I am in a space station. And that is the kind of thing that's just so impossible to convey until you try this, right? So let's look down. So check out my guy there, right? He's wearing what looks like a leather fetish suit. He probably weighs about 90 to 100 pounds soaking wet, so I've easily got 150 pounds on the jump. But check out what he's holding here. He's holding a flight stick and a throttle. So as I sit down here, guys, notice my hands. And even if you don't see them, I've put my flight stick and throttle, which happen to be the exact same model used to render the in-game one, in exactly the same spot via Velcro. So when he pushes forward on his flight stick, or when I push forward on my flight stick, he pushes forward in perfect synchronization. So when you're playing this game and you look down and you're seeing your in-game avatar do exactly the same things, that connection to your brain is so strong, and that's why cockpit games specifically are so awesomely suited to VR, because they really complete that sense of immersion. The second aspect is not just having the right controls, because you got to imagine a gamepad just wouldn't get it across, or keyboard and mouse, right? You want to use the proper controls for the proper game. The second point is that voice attack I talked about in the first game. Voice attack just completes that immersion because it makes you feel like you're in a real spaceship. You got to think this far into the future, you would use voice commands. There would be voice recognition. And I kind of pointed it out, but I tend to use it for non-timing sensitive functions, right? Stuff like putting your landing gear up, your cargo scoop, all those types of things are taken care of. So when I'm playing this game, my hands never leave the flight stick and throttle. I've got no reason to go to my keyboard. Between the stick, throttle, and voice attack, I'm flying this ship, right? The cool multiplayer, kind of what I would love to see, guys, and I kind of touched on multiplayer in the last video, is, remember when I said, like, I look to my side here and I see this empty co-pilot chair. Imagine having a buddy. I got my buddy in the background there. He's playing Dark Souls, I think, right now. But imagine he had an HMD. Rift, Vive, who cares? Doesn't matter. He's on there and he's sitting beside me. He could be at home or he could be in the same room like he is right now. But he could be my gunner. I do navigation, or vice versa. To me, that is going to be so freaking awesome in VR, to be able to have that level of immersion where you could share an experience like that. Because literally, since I was a kid, Star Trek, Star Wars, if I would have known this was possible, seriously, you think I'm nerding it up now? You ain't seen nothing yet. I would have lost my shit back then, because the computers and the consoles of the day, they did not have this type of graphic capability, right? So I told you guys about the professions, the types of ships. Let's take a quick look at what you can do in this game. So I'm in a space station. There are bases that are like space stations on planetary surfaces. And we're going to look at the outside shortly. I'm going to take off from this station. The worlds can either be lawful or they can be total anarchy worlds. They can be high-tech or low-tech. High-tech worlds are going to offer lots of services, lots of ships, lots of upgrades. Think of the upgrades, and we'll look at them shortly, as kind of, that's where this game is very much like an RPG Lite, right? In a traditional RPG, you've got a character. Your character has levels, skills, and equipment. And as you progress through the game, those all go up. Equipment gets better in a specific profession, right? Upgrades make you stronger. It's the same in this game, except it's not your character, it's the ship. You can upgrade your ship, you can have a profession type of ship, and you can upgrade all those components, right? Every space base, whether it's lawful or anarchy, offers you those services. It's just a matter of how many, right? The lawful worlds will have basically the equivalent of cops to protect you. If you're an asshat and you start shooting up people, civilians in the game, computer-controlled ships, they're going to come after you. Likewise, if you get attacked, if you can survive the first 30 seconds of a pirate attack and you're close enough to a station, they're going to come to your aid. If you're in a super hostile anarchy-style system, forget about it. There's nobody to save you. It's you and the pirates, and that's it. So let's look at what those services are. So we're going to click into Starport Services, and you can see this awesome screen pops up. You can see I can refuel, I can repair, I can restock. I've got percentages on my armor, how much fuel I have. On my left, I've got a summary statistic about how much money I have. And remember, you start this game dirt poor. You started, and no offense to any former Iron Curtain people there, but you start with the equivalent of a super shitty Russian Lada, known as the Sidewinder, and 1,000 credits in your pocket. So you can see I've obviously been kind of building that supply up. Whether you ultimately like this game or not depends on the type of game you like. This game is super grindy. If you don't like grindy games, this isn't the game for you. It's also very open-ended in terms of the missions. There's no overarching storyline. So if you need a storyline to pull you through a game, this isn't the game for you. Likewise, it's very open. So if you need a lot of direction, this also probably isn't the game for you. But if that hasn't turned you off and you like open worlds and you like flexibility and making your own storyline, chart your own destiny, this just may be the game for you. So, services. You can do repairs, and then you've got missions. And missions mirror what I talked about with professions and with ships, right? So you can, just like you can upgrade your ship based on its function, you can do missions that mirror the profession you've chosen. I play a jack-of-all-trades type character, and my ship reflects that, and so do my missions. I'll do a little bit of everything. I don't tend to do the assassination missions because he's basically a good guy. He doesn't want to, become at odds with too many police in too many systems. But check out some of these missions here. So some of them are courier-based, right? Deliver 14 units of clothing. It gets you a certain amount of credits. It raises your reputation, and then it shows you the distance you have to travel. Going inside, you also see some missions have fines. This one, 4,300 credits if I fail. How do you fail? Well, lose your cargo. And that could be a pirate attack. It could be damage because you did a horrible job landing. Insurance will replace your ship, and insurance is roughly 10% of the original cost of the ship plus upgrades. But it won't replace your cargo. So you'll be okay in terms of your ship being back, but you'll have failed the quest or the mission, and that's the fine you have to pay. So pay attention to that. Some missions will have fines that are more than the reward. I've seen missions that have $200,000 fines, but only $100,000 for successfully completing it. I tend to stay away from them. So let's look down here. Do we see an assassination-based one? So we've got data delivery. Let's look down here. Trade, humanitarian. So far, I don't see any assassination missions, but they do exist. And yeah, nothing here. So they do exist, and they would basically be twofold. Either take out a guy in his ship, or go to a planet base. Maybe you've got, a base that you can't get too close to with your ship. You might have to land your ship and take your SRV. Most of these ships can carry a vehicle, and use that vehicle to infiltrate the base. Sometimes you're interfacing with a computer system. Other times you're just blowing the shit out of everything that you see, right? So that's it for missions. Contacts are where you go to pay fines if you've been speeding or causing lots of damage. It's also where you collect bounties. And then the real RPG part of the system, which I'll get to, is connected to the shipyard. And the shipyard is simply where you buy your ship. So again, the higher tech the system, the more variety you get. The Sidewinder we're looking at right now for 27,000 credits is your starting Russian Lada piece of poop, right? It's just a big beginner ship. Watch as I scroll through, the prices go up. My ship was about, this one here, the Cobra Mark III, 300,000 credits. Ships go into the millions, and the super high-end ships, hundreds of millions of credits. But again, they're all suited for different purposes. I chose a jack-of-all-trades ship. So let's exit out of here, and then I'll show you the outfitting. In a nutshell, it uses a number and letter-based system. The higher the number, the bigger the part. The lower the letter, the better quality. And that's all you got to know. There's weapons, shields, all different kinds of components, right? To show you real quick, thrusters, power plants, armor, all that type of stuff you can upgrade and purchase to make your ship better. The last section, the livery, is basically the DLC portion of the game. I haven't really figured this out, but you can give your ship a paint job, you can put decals on, and so forth. So let's exit out of here, and let's take a look at the commodities market. And think of that as a stock market, right? There's also a black market. You can buy slaves, drugs. So if that's your thing, you want to be kind of more of a nefarious, evil type person, you can do that. You can even buy equipment that will prevent cops and authorities from being able to scan you and see that you're carrying, illicit stuff, right? But if you're just regular above board guy, you're probably just going to go to the stock market here. And the stock market has all kinds of different categories: foods, chemicals, computer systems, and it's basically buy low, sell high. If you can find a good trade route, exploit it. But because of the way the system works, if a lot of people are doing that same trade run, or you do it too much, you're going to start noticing the prices change, and you may have to find another trade route. And that's basically how that system works. So let's take a look at actually going into space so you can see that. So we're going to exit here. We are going to go to launch. And again, this is just so immersive. Like, it feels like my ship is ready for launch. You've got a certain amount of time to get out of the space station, or you're considered loitering, right? And they will find you, and then they will blast you the hell out of their space station. So here we go. You've got 6 degrees of freedom. So I'm using my vertical thrusters to just go straight up. I'm going to align with the exit here and simply rotate and put my throttle forward. And remember what I was saying about my in-game avatar? Well, check that out. So my hands going forward, same with the flight stick, perfect synchronization. I'm pretty good at this because I've done it so many times, so I tend to just whip out of here. But when you're getting used to it, go slow. And check this out. So there's a gas world. And you'll notice the entrance to the space station, typically, the standard rule is they will face the nearby planet, which in this case is a gas planet. And unfortunately, you can only land currently on planets that have no atmosphere. So gas giants or atmosphere worlds are currently off limits. But anything without an atmosphere is open game. So we're going to just get out of what's called mass lock range. And if you look at the bottom right here, there, the color for mass lock just went off. What mass locking is basically telling you that you're close to a large gravitational body, and you won't be able to, use your propulsion systems for jumping away. Speaking of that, there's 3 ways to travel in this game. There's your conventional, which is kind of like your kilometers per hour, just as if you were in a car on Earth, right? Then you've got system travel, which uses a slightly faster way of traveling, and it's within a system. And then you've got travel between systems, which is kind of like your jump drive, right? So we're going to turn around, we're going to face that space station just to show you. And I notice my landing gear is still down, so using voice attack, I'm going to say retract landing gear. And you know what? I don't have voice attack running. So we are going to run that super quick. Deploy landing gear. Try that again. Deploy landing gear. Retract landing gear. There we go. So I must have put the microphone too low. Normally you can whisper and she will pick that up. I mean, it depends on the quality of your mic, but I've adjusted my volume levels, so I had to speak a little bit louder there. But let's face that space station. And you can see I'm looking up, and that's where this game is so awesome, is when you're in combat. Let's go to the side here of the space station. When you're in combat, you can see the ships in VR literally roar overhead. And if you've got the type of ship with like a sunroof, mine doesn't really have that, you can literally put your head back and follow that ship, and you can feel the rumble of the sound effects in your headphones as it rips overhead. You can't do that in a conventional game. It just doesn't have the same effect as it does in VR. So we're going to whiz here to the side, and we should see the side of that space station. There we go. That space station that I was just inside, you can see it stretching 6 kilometers into the distance. Like the sense of scale is just absolutely immersive and impressive. And you can see the entrance, there it is, and like I said, it faces the world, so whatever planet is nearby, right? The last thing I want to show you guys is how you do the traveling, and that's basically using the galactic map. So on your left here, you've got navigation comms, which is all about traveling and how to get somewhere. In front of you is your radar dish and stuff that's in immediate range. And then to your right, kind of your inventory, how you've got your fire groups set up. Fire groups is like your weapon system. So you could have, like I've got my pulse lasers on one and my rail gun and my mining laser on group 2. So you can, you know, pick stuff based on those groupings. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at the navigation system, and we're going to go to the first option, and we're going to look at the galaxy map, which will appear now in the front of my screen. Now, this is where this game's scale just is so impressive. So that symbol there that you see, that bluish one, it's kind of like a triangle pointing down for LFS424, or LFT424 is my world. Watch as I scroll out. Check out all those stars, okay? Those are all places you can literally go in the game. As I pull back, you can see that's just one spiral arm in the Milky Way galaxy. Look in the distance there. You see the galactic core? You can actually go there. And the stars, as you would predict, are super close and packed together. And it literally will take you real life days and weeks to get there. So that's the galaxy map where you do your overall navigation. Let's exit out of here. And then the last map is just your system map. And that's this one here, which is starting. It will show you the current system. The stars, any asteroid belts, and any worlds, right? Whether they're gas giants or Earth rocky style worlds, and then the bases. So there's that familiar symbol that shows where I am now. But you can see there's lots of places to visit here. And then the ultimate last thing here, we're going to look at just the weapon system. So I'm far enough away from the base, I'm not going to get penalized, but here you go. So I'm deploying my laser systems. And you can see here, the combat is just so absolutely visceral and in your face. If you like dogfighting games like World War I, World War II style combat as opposed to, you know, the jet style combat in some modern military simulators, you would love this because it's paced a little slower like World War I and World War II, and it's that impressive, that much more impressive in VR because again, you get that sense of being there, and something like ramming another ship, it's such an experience. You just can't copy that 3D on 2D. Well, there you have it, guys. That's basically Elite Dangerous. Hopefully that's given you a little bit more information about the game. And if it at all appeals to you on any level, strongly urge you to try it. And if it doesn't, well, I'd still urge you to try it, but fair enough if you don't like it at the end of the day. All right, guys, beer time. As always, till next video, cheers.